Hello, welcome everybody. Guys, can you hear me now? Yes.
Oh yeah, hello.
Hi, Patty. Hi, Jeff.
I mean,
Welcome. Welcome to week number 13. Good Lord, we're already on week number 13. I don't even know where the time went. I get so excited about these things on Tuesday. Now it seems like my whole family knows what's coming up on Tuesday. It's like, oh, Daddy, isn't today tip reading Tuesday? I'm like, yes, it is. Good job. And they want to come on and they're excited. So thank you very much, guys. We like to start off every week with the same thing, which is gratitude. One of my kids. So let's take a second, real quick, before I tell you. And I just want to say, thank you very much, Patty and Jeff, for coming on board. Thank you very much, guys, for listening out there. I really appreciate it. My kids asked me, yes. My kids asked me, why do we start off with gratitude? Why do you start off, Daddy, with gratitude? And I go, man, that's a great question, actually. And it refers to back to tip 10. I don't know if you guys remember, but tip 10 was about being productive, having a productive mindset. And during the productive mindset, we talked about getting your mind right, getting your state of mind right. And I like to start off with gratitude because I want everybody to get their state of mind right before we begin, reading the tips. And so I'll explain that to them. And then I talked about how if you wanted to change your state of mind, you could change one of the three things on the triangle, right? You could change your language, you could change your beliefs, or you could change your physiology. And then that could change your state of mind. And so being in the right state of mind, having a productive mindset, having gratitude, once you start doing these things for like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, the hypothalamus starts releasing all these chemicals that makes you feel really, really good. And what a better way to start than everybody's feeling really, really good. And that's exactly what I told the kiddos, that, that's how you start. 60 seconds is probably ideal to start getting the chemicals to react, the hypothalamus to start releasing stuff and make everybody feel good. So that is why we are begin every show or begin every tip reading with gratitude. I want to thank you all for being part of this amazing journey. It's been so awesome learning new things, and I hope you guys are too. We're on week number 13, tip number 13 in the producing section of the book. And if you remember, the book is divided into five sections. The first section was about giving, and now we're in the producing section, producing results.
So, the first section is about receiving.
So sorry, receiving. What did I say?
Giving. You're already at the top. You're already all the way to the top.
I'm already all the way to the top. I'm like, dude, I want to give. But yeah, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate it. It's all about receiving. You have to build that foundation
Starts there
first in order to start producing, which is where we're at, in order to get to the ultimate level of giving. So thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate it. We are in the producing section. And a couple of updates about the book. I was able to switch some settings around in Amazon, and I was able to make the book cheaper. So I went ahead and updated the price. If you don't know, all the proceeds of the book, 100%, go straight to the charity for Hope. So feel free to buy it on Amazon if you want to buy it. This is another reason why I decided to go to StreamYard, is because, see, look at that right down there. That's where you can buy the book, meetrepo.com/bucks. So that is it. What are you guys, just real quickly, you guys have something that you guys are grateful for today? I love sharing all some awesome news if you have it.
Ladies first.
well, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but tonight I'm grateful because I had a kick-ass karate class before.
Oh, nice.
So I'm always grateful for being able to use, for a body that I can use, and, my sensei, my teacher, and my fellow students. It was awesome.
That's awesome. What are you allowed to say what belt you are? Can you say? Do you want to say? What color belt?
I'm a 4th degree black belt.
Wow, I forgot about that. Now that you said that, I just totally I remember you saying that some other time, and I was like, blew my mind. Wow, congrats.
And the awesome thing is that I didn't start until I was 48.
See, right there. What did that tell you? Never too late. Never too late to do anything. That's awesome. Remind me that never to make you angry.
You'll never attack me, so you're
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah, I'll say, or even scare you. Good Lord. Jeff, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, as always, I'm grateful to be here to support you. Just to to be here. This is a book that I'm just really proud to be a part of in any way, shape, or form. But beyond that, I always start with my wife and kids. My wife and kids are awesome. My son Brody had a classmate at Deer Canyon Elementary that because of COVID and that in combination with another rare thing lost her life. And so I've been just thinking a lot today about how lucky I am to have health and have life. And as we were sitting down thinking about how to be good parents and how to tell Brody, it's always so funny how quick the kids are. Marianne and I were like planning our, hey, let's talk and let's come together and let's sit down together and sit down with Brody. And Brody, hey, we want to talk to you. Hey, is this about the kid at my school? And he already knew because the kids talk. And God bless the innocence of the children.
Yeah.
God bless all of our health. I'll say that. There's a lot of things I'm grateful for. On a fun, really, 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 really fun side, Patty asked me before your show got started, like 15 seconds before, how'd it go earlier today? And we had a meeting about somebody potentially licensing the integrity game. Patty introduced me to these colleagues, and they've got huge databases full of personal professional growth seekers, and we might be able to set up another license for the integrity game. There's still a way to go because it's going to end up being a big project, I think. But it went really well. It's another step forward towards the coaching methodology, getting out to thousands and thousands and thousands of people that really need it. So that's exciting, and I'm really excited about the inauguration of a new president tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, coming up and tomorrow, actually, right? Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah.
So just to piggyback a little bit on your guys' licensing deal or potential licensing deal.
Yeah.
Charity for Hope is also going to license the content, and then we're gonna repurpose it a little bit to make it Charity for Hope. Just to kind of introduce it with Charity for Hope in it, and that's the main purpose of that is to. I want to start developing the youths of America, whether it be people that I'm part of, the organizations that I'm part of, like AHOA or LPS, whether it be those organizations or whatever. I want them to take this leadership course that we're putting together for Charity for Hope and be leaders in their own right. So I'm excited about that new project. So thanks very much for bringing that up. It should be here soon. I don't even know next. I guess I don't want to jinx it. I just want to say it'll be here soon.
Well, that's really, here's what's, all right. Thanks for bringing that up on top of me bringing it up. The really cool thing, as we all work towards giving our way to the top, the really, really, really cool thing about it, Patty, I don't know if you had to get off the phone before we got to this part, but when I was mentioning all the different ways the content can be licensed, right? And I mentioned you can license the content with the rights to resell it or without the rights to resell it. And I'm so excited that Charity for Hope is getting in the catbird seat because, as we've talked about, Charity for Hope's license is going to include the ability to resell. And so as I talk with Patty's colleagues, if they never, ever, ever, and even if they do, I'm still going to, if they don't mention a charity component, I'm going to mention the charity component and suggest that they get their license through the version that we create. But all of that's possible right now, and everything seems to be coming together beautifully. Gratitude is the attitude.
There you go, dude. I like it. What a good way to segue into tip number 13. Remember, in the producing section, producing results. So tip number 13, be tactical, right? And I'm going to read the quote. There's a little quote. If you haven't got the book, go on the website right there. I'm going to read the quote. It's by David Allen, actually. Most people feel best about their work the week before they're about to leave for a vacation. But it's not because of the vacation itself, What do you do the last week before you leave on a big trip? You clean up, you close up, you clarify, and you renegotiate all your agreements with yourself and others. I just suggest that you do this weekly instead of yearly. By David Allen.
So
I love it,
beautiful. So
right?
great. Yeah.
And then I'm going to recommend. I got some book recommendations up there too. You guys see the screen? Yeah. So now I'm going to read the passage. David Allen, author of Getting Things Done and Ready for Anything, shines a light on the concept of observable actions, what the military might refer to as tactics. The strategic thinking we are encouraged in tip number 12 gets broken down into tactics or observable actions here in tip number 13. If there was a fly on the wall watching you execute a strategy, what would that fly on the wall see you doing? What are the observable actions you need to either engage in or delegate in order to execute the strategy? We'll touch on this a little bit more in the leading phase of your journey, but for now, let's preview that left to our own devices, the next observable action is not something we always make clear to ourselves. We highly recommend being in a coaching relationship to be held accountable to defining the observable actions required to execute a strategy or plan.
Amen.
Damn, look at that.
Well read, my friend. Very good. Oh, I love it.
Thank you. That was a good one because I like it because it's I'm in the midst of doing that right now. You know, there's in the producing section. There's about, I think in the next 3 or 4 tips. There's another tip for the power hour. There's another tip for I believe appointments with yourself. So all of these kind of integrate together with this tip, which is trying to find out what your next observable action is.
Mhm.
I've got an easy example, right? It has to do. I belong to Orange Theory, and Orange Theory just started yesterday. They did their transformational challenge. So it's 8 weeks, and you get measured at the beginning. What is your weight? What is your body fat? What is your skeleton mass? I think those were 3 things that the results came out. And so 8 weeks later, you get to retest it, and I guess the person who lost the most body fat percentage wins. But so the next observable action, I mean, we already know 8 weeks from now, which is March 6th, the contest is going to end. You know, the next observable action for me was to get myself into the gym today and start that and start putting it in there and start making commitments to going to the gym at least 3 times and start to make commitments to eating healthier too, man. So that was the next observable action for me in terms of using this specific tip, be tactical, in order to take on the OTF challenge, the transformational challenge. Mm-hmm. Jeff, you got any examples of?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to come up with a bunch. The low-hanging fruit example is, you know, when I'm in a coaching relationship, let's say with a top producing sales professional, and they need to, you know, they're number one, and they go down to number 2, and they want to get back up to number 1 again, right? And it usually involves, it'll sound like this. It'll say, well, what are the things that got you to number 1? What were you willing to do that other people weren't willing to do, which is strategic, right? It's like, well, I pound the phones. When's the last time you pounded the phones? Okay. And so we'll get them to a point where they're committing now to, you know, how many calls do you need to make this week in order to get back up to number 1? 100 calls. Okay. What's the next observable action? I'll ask. They say, well, pick up the phone and call. I'll say, hang on a second. Who are you going to call? Who are the best people to call? Do you have a call list? Do you have a database ready to go? Do you have a place to enter notes into once you make the call? Do you have a follow-up system ready to go? So, right, like, have you gotten clear on what kind of a voicemail you're going to leave to get the highest percentage of return phone calls? Right?
Do the research before you start doing that. Is that what
well,
you're saying?
The thing is, it's like, it's one thing to just, you know, a lot of times coaches will stop at, a good coach gets a commitment out of somebody, you know, to take action. That's what a good coach will do. But what happens is a lot of coaches out there struggle with this. Well, we agreed on what you do, and now here you are at the next session. You haven't done it yet. You haven't done it. Why didn't you do it? And it's because the world-class coach chisels and chisels and chisels and chisels away until the very next observable action. Right? We don't settle for the first answer that comes to mind. We'll peel more layers of the onion to say, well, what's the? It's kind of like, oh, well, I got to change my tire. I can't go on the road trip yet until I change the tire on my car. Well, that's the next observable action, is changing the tire. No, the next observable action is calling AAA to have them come and change it. Or do you like get all the way all the way further back? It's like in mathematics, you don't stop at 45 over 90. You chisel down till you get to 1 over 2. To use a metaphor. What's the very next observable action? I mean, to start this tip with David Allen is genius. For those of you that haven't read the book, the tip by itself could just be read the book by David Allen. But it's genius. There's so much illumination on observable actions that helps us with our productivity.
That's awesome. Good job. Patty, you have anything to add on that? Next observable action. Why do people have so much trouble with it?
What?
Well, so why do people have so much trouble with it?
Well, when you are a kid, you go to school and they give you homework, but they don't necessarily break it down into each observable action either, which is why some kids wait to the very last minute to do all their work, whereas a good student is breaking it down. They've had help or they've figured it out themselves. But what I was thinking about was a couple of my clients are having trouble sleeping at night. Okay. So because I believe that meditation is your superpower, I've been working with them to increase their meditation practice. And just like Jeff was saying, you have to say, okay, when are you going to do it? How long are you going to do it? What type are you going to do? You can't just say, okay, I'm going to meditate this week, coach. You have to really drill down.
Yeah, once they get off the phone and they go like, well, they haven't identified the first observable action. So that it's easier to say, well, and they don't do it at all.
Right. So it's really important to, break it down and make them, the really key thing is they need to believe they can do it. Right. And so sometimes you have to start, like this one person I've started with 2.5 minutes. And that was all they could commit to. I went 2.5. But now it's a habit. And so now they know they can do it. And now they can start increasing the time. So it's so individual sometimes.
Right. So in that case, I want to change my next observable action for the OTF Transformational Challenge into doing research to see what I need to lose this week in order to schedule it in for this week. Because my goal was to lose 4% body fat. So that means this week I'm gonna have to do some research on how much that will be for calorie wise, how much I need to eat or not eat for calorie wise, and how much 1 pound will lose. So I got to do a little bit more research before I just say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, or oh, I'm going to eat properly. So I'm gonna do some more research on my end.
Like
I was gonna say, you brought it up real quick, people. You said, well, eat better. You mentioned that earlier when you were talking about next observable actions. Well, I was gonna chisel and say, what's the first thing you need to do in order to eat better? It's not eat better. It's shop better, or study, or create your grocery list and then go get your groceries, or what's the next observable action? It's shopping and cooking instructions before you actually eat better, right? Mm-hmm. Or planning when you have your we take people back, so it makes it easier to get started. So many people their lack of productivity or their feelings of underachievement are not because they didn't have good intentions or tell themselves they want to do things. Many to-do lists go undone. It's because the to-do list never chisels further towards the first or next observable action, and then it just stays there. So that's one of the biggest reasons, that people, and why don't people come up with the next observable action? You asked Patty, you gave her the first crack at answering that question. My answer to that is simply they don't have a coach.
Right?
Well, that's part of it for sure.
Left to our, right, it said there in the tip, left to our own devices, it's hard.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're arguing with ourselves and we want to do other things, and we're, and if somebody was just outside of us and asked us the question, it would be easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. But that's what I mean. Is people gotta go, and that's what that's what David Allen talks about when he's talks about for Ready for Anything. 52 productivity tips in there, and he talks about this getting chiseling down, like you say, into the next observable action. So if you want to learn more, hire a coach or read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, which some of the tips in there are actually incorporated into the book itself. Actually, one of the tips is about doing the 5 minute. I call it the 5 minute rule. So, but we'll discuss that later on. But I got that from Getting Things Done. I believe he has a 2 minute rule that I kind of changed around, tweaked a little bit. And Ready for Anything is another good book. But yeah, any other books that you guys recommend?
When it comes to
producing productivity,
yeah. I'm a big fan of Eat That Frog.
Oh yeah, by Brian Tracy.
Yeah, by Brian Tracy. It's I'm a big fan of it because it's a quick, digestible, entertaining read, and some might call it a quote a time management book, but time management is it's ultimately about productivity, personal productivity. And then I've started reading. Vipul, this came up for us in a session that we did a couple of days ago, but I've begun reading The One Thing.
Oh yeah.
I can't fully recommend it yet because I'm not done reading it, but I've picked it up. I brought it. What else comes to mind on productivity? Patty, you got anything on productivity off the top of your head?
What is it? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, that's so much more than just personal productivity. It really it has that piece in there. Yeah, Power Hour. I mean, roles and goals, right? And it has strategy for what you might do in a Power Hour.
Right. I have a friend that wrote a book called How to Train Your Brain for Success. And he really delves into Roger Sipe. He really delves into the whole Power Hour and how that planning, really sets you up for success.
130,000%. I am living example of that. The Power Hour. The Power Hour looks very messy, but that's okay. It's it's right there. I can understand it. It's that's how I get stuff done, actually. So yeah, so that was it for tip number 13. Tip number 14, Jeff, you're gonna like this. You ready? Tip number 14. Be competitive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a quote on you on there. So
okay, that's awesome. I won't read ahead. Well, I've read the book already, but I won't read ahead. I won't read ahead right now. This is awesome. Love this.
So we got another. So we're on tip number 13. I want to thank everybody for coming on board. You like this? Real quick, Jeff. I know you've been on both Zoom and Patty's. Actually, so have you and StreamYard. There's some things that I can play around with, right? Like Todd's too saying thumbs up.
Hi, Todd.
And so there's some stuff that I can play around with here. I don't know if it's. I don't know. Just wanted to see what your. Was it easier for you guys to jump on?
It was. I'll just start. It was easier for me to jump on, and you're just more fluid as a navigator, right? Of the technology. What I can tell is you put more time into figuring out what the controls are and what the navigation is. And so what's key, but the other thing is it really. It's not my feedback or even necessarily Patty's. It's going to be most valuable to you. It's going to be what's Todd's feedback. How did it come off to Todd? What looks best to Todd? The people that are out there watching this on Zoom, what does it look like to them? Of course, if you're having guests on and you're relying on them for the show, you need to make sure that they can join and participate fluently. But both Patty and I did as fluently as ever. So all of that went really well.
Well, great.
Yeah, it was easy this time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm beginning to like this more and more. We'll explore it I like to switch back and forth, as you know, Jeff.
Yeah, well, no, it's all right, man. A/B split testing, on the fly, building the airplane at 30,000 feet. I have no problem with it. I just want to know which link I'm clicking every week because I plan on being here every week.
Yes, well, question, and then every week I try to make the flyer updated. Not try. I always make the flyer updated to reflect whether it's Zoom, StreamYard, or Facebook.
Yeah, and then are we and Patty and I privileged that we got the invite, or is this like public where anybody can come on through the live stream, or is it because I actually forwarded it? I'm like, hey everybody, I'll be on with people.
Yeah, I saw that.
Click my link and join us. I don't know if I was supposed to do that.
No, that's fine. I mean, I didn't do that, but that's okay. I don't. It doesn't. The more the merrier for me.
Yeah, we can handle it. Yeah, anybody. All right. Well, cool, man. Thanks for doing this, man. I really, really, really love this book. If people don't have the book, they got to go out and get it right away, and hopefully come on and participate in the dialogue with us. Thank you for having me, Vipul. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Patty, for being on here too. We'll see you guys later on. Thank you. Next week.
All right.